Okay, this is Unit 5, Lesson 3, Day 3 homework. There was no Day 2 homework. We actually chose some problems out of the book for that. But this is the Day 3 homework. And we're going to start with question number 2 today, question number 3 today, found on page 381 out of the Core Plus Mathematics Series 3, or Series 2 book, Course 3. And so it starts off by saying to simplify the rules for the rational functions defined in task 2, which was the previous task we did on day 1, as far as possible, and then in each case, check to see whether the domain of each simplified function rule is the same as that of the original. So we're going to check to see if the domain changes, and we'll see what happens. Well, what I'm going to do then is reference the ones that we did on day 1. So I have my day 1 homework here. And these are my day 1 homework solutions. I have the part B there, tasks 2 through 4. And if you were watching the day 1 homework solutions to question number 2, you may notice that part 4 got cut off. The battery died on the camera. But feel free to inspect this last solution here. So we're going to take these and simplify them today. So I'm going to start by taking the first one. And the first one is actually question S of x over n of x, which looked like 7,500 minus 250x over 750 minus 25x. And this is the one where I said if you look closely, the numerator of this rational function is 10 times greater than the bottom part. I noticed there was an extra 0 on the 750, it's 7,500, right? And here the 250 was 10 times greater than 25. So I just noticed that the top expression was 10 times greater than the bottom expression. So to simplify this, I just came up with something that looks like 10. But if you graph 10, 10 doesn't have the same domain as the original function. In the original one, you could not let x equal 30. Because when x was equal to 30, you're trying to divide by 0. So 10 is the new one here, the new expression, but we would say that this does not include the whole at x equals 30. So in order for it to be exactly the same, we would have to say something about 10 comma x cannot equal 30. But this question number 3 is really asking us to identify is the domain the same. So the domain is not the same here. Domain is not the same. Okay, let's go to the second one of these questions. The second one of these questions deals with b of x over n of x. So I'll rewrite that for us here. 2,250 minus 75x over 750 minus 25x. And here I'm seeing that maybe they're not 10 times greater this time, but I am seeing that a 5 would go in these expressions, and maybe even 25 would. I do know that 750 divided by 25 is 30, so I know it goes into 750. I would want to check to see what 2,250 divided by 25 was. I don't know off the top of my head, but if I check in the calculator, I do a little calculation, whichever you want to do. We're just going to check that 2250 divided by 25 is 90, okay? And 25 goes into 75 3 times. So what I'll do is factor 25 out. If I factor 25 out of the top expression, it becomes 90 minus 3x. And the bottom expression, I would get 25 times 30 minus x. And here I can see the 25s would go. But then these terms all appear to have a 3 in them still, but there's no 3 in this x. So the simplest version of this is just 90 minus 3x over 30 minus x. And then we would check, does this have the same domain? Well, we didn't cross off any of the parts that involve x, so we would say, yes, this is the same domain. Okay? And we didn't change what inputs would come out of this function, what inputs go in this function that makes 0. In the first expression we did, we noticed that the factoring of this would make it just 10 times bigger, so we crossed off the x inputs, and that x input of 30 was bad. Well, it wasn't bad, but it was something that gave you denominator equal to 0, so that caused a little bit of an error for us. So the domain wasn't the same in the first one, it is in the second one. So let's go to the third one. The third expression reads 5,250 minus 175x divided by 7,500 minus 250x. And we're going to simplify this. Now, the good news is I know that 25 will go into 250. 25 goes into 7,500. 25 goes into 5,250, and 25 goes into 175 as well. So let's just see what that will look like. If I take 170, I'm going to check 175 because there might be a bigger factor that works here. I'm going to divide 175 by 25 and get 7 out. Well, 7 doesn't have any other factors that will come out that are bigger. So we're just going to pull out a 25 again, just like we did in the previous expression. So if I do 5,250 divided by 25, that's 210. So I have 210 minus 7x over 25 out of the bottom expression. 25 or 7,500 divided by 25 should be 300, and it is. And then 250 divided by 25 would yield just 10. Okay, so here I see the 25s go away again, and so my simplified expression is 210 minus 7x over 300 minus 10x. Nothing else can be simplified. 7 doesn't go into each of these expressions, so that's the simplest it goes. And then this also has the same domain. Okay, let's try the fourth one. The fourth one is b of x over s of x, so 2,250 minus 75x over 7,500 minus 250x. So simplifying again occurs when we try to factor out whatever we can. And here I'm seeing the same 25 come out that we saw in the previous two. So I'll pull the 25 out. I know 25 goes into 2,250 90 times from our previous expression. And I know 25 goes to 75 3 times. Then on the bottom, I know that 25 goes into 7,500 300 times. And it goes into 250 10 times. So this is my new expression. We'll cross 25s off, and I get 90 minus 3x over 300 minus 10x. And I notice there's a 3, a 90, a 300, but 3 doesn't go into 10, and 10 can't go into 3, so this can't be factored anymore to put anything else out. So this actually has the same domain again. And that answers the questions about simplifying and domain. That is all for question number 3.